Hello, this is Unit 8, Day 4 for Algebra 1. This is about graphing step functions. Step functions are piecewise functions. They are discontinuous, and they're called step functions because they're going to look like a staircase. They are all made up of constant functions. So if you look at the first one, remember the other day we said that f of x is just a fancy way of saying y. So mathematicians bundle up the pieces with the symbol here, the grouping symbol. But if we were to separate them, it would be y equals -3, y equals 0, and y equals 3. And those are all Hoivux lines. They're Hoys, so they're horizontal. And so we're just going to graph some horizontal lines where they tell us to. So for anything less than -2, the y value's got to be a -3. Because there's no equal sign on the less than, I am going to start it with an open circle. And x values less than -2 are going to be to the left of that circle, just like the inequality points. So there's the piece y equals -3. Our next piece says y is going to equal 0 from -2 to +1, and those have equal signs on them, so I'm going to use solid dots. So y equals 0 starting with an x value of -2. So with x value of -2, y is 0, and it's going to keep on equaling 0 until I get over here where x is equal to 1. And then from there, it's going to jump up to 3 for any x values greater than 1. So again, there's no equal sign, so I am going to put an open circle on the point 1, 3. And for all x values greater, which are to the right as the inequality points, f of x. Okay. Now, if that's too much for you to do just visually, you can still make your tables. Okay. So for the first one, x values less than -2 are going to be -2, -3, -4, -5. And they're all going to have a value of -3. I'm going to circle this -2 to remind myself it has to be an open circle. And then for x values from -2 to 1, the y value is going to be 0. And then for x values greater than 1, open circle because it didn't have an equal sign, the y values are all going to be 3. So if it helps you to take your tables before you draw your picture, that's always going to be an option. All right, next one. F of x, so the y is equal to 4 from -4 to -2. So x value of -4, so I'm going to plot the point -4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Closed circle because it has an equal sign. And it's going to stay a 4 until x is -2. So just from here to here. Then we're going to jump down to 2, from -2 to 2, and those are going to be open circles because there's no equal sign. So -2, 2 is right here. +2, 2 is right here. Connect in between. And then it's going to jump down to -3. So I'm going to graph from 2 to 4. So I'm going to graph the point 2, -3 with a closed circle because of the equal sign. And I'm going to graph the point 4, -3. And connect the dots. So I graph the point here and here and connect the dots each time. Label our function, and we're done. Alright, first one is y is equal to 1 for any x values greater than 0. So I'm going to plot the point 0, 1 with an open circle because there's no equal sign. And this is for x values greater than 0, which are to the right as the inequality points. Forever, because they didn't tell me a stopping point. And then we're going to jump to 0 when x is equal to 0 only. There is no inequality here. So that just means I'm going to graph the point 0, 0, and it's not going to go anywhere. That's the only point I graph for that one. Then we're going to jump to -1 for all x values less than 0. So I am going to plot the point 0, -1 with an open circle. Less than is left, just like the inequality points. Here's the graph of our step function. All right, now we get to the point where we get to write the equations of the step functions. Now, this is a part that people forget to do on the Regents a lot, but you need f of x, and then they do this, and they get points off because you don't have an equal sign. We have to write an equation or a function, which is an equation, and you've got to have f of x equals. Okay, we don't care how squiggly your brackets are, just make sure they're squiggly, they don't have to be perfectly shaped. And then we got to write these pieces. I like to go write the equations first, and then I go back and do the inequality pieces. So this portion of the line segment is y equals -1. So I'm going to put a -1 here with a semicolon. And we'll do the restrictions now so that I don't mess you up. All right, so I'm noticing on this piece, this step, that there are no arrows. If there's no arrows, that means we have a start and a stop. You always start on the left, stop on the right. So on the left point has an x value of -4, and then it stops at an x value of -1, and then the x is going to be in the middle. We always use less than signs to sandwich. So this says start from -4 to -1. Now all you have to figure out is who gets the equal sign and who doesn't. Since the -4 is a solid point, it gets an equal sign. Since the -1 is an open circle, it does not get an equal sign. So our first piece is done. Next piece, the y value is 2. So our step y value is equal to 2. Again, it's a start and stop, no arrows. So on the left, it starts with an x value of -1. And it stops with an x value of 2. So notice how I automatically just put the less than signs and the x in between. Now I'm going to go back and see who needs the equal signs. Both the starting point and the stopping point are closed circles, so both of my inequalities are going to get an equal sign. All right, the last piece. Start, stop, left, right, but the y value of that step is -1 again. And yes, we're going to list it separately because it has a separate start and stop. The start is at 2. The stop is at 5. And since 5 is the only one closed in, I put an equal sign with the 5. There is the equation of our function, and I cannot stress enough, do not forget your equal sign. All right, so here we have a graph for the cost of t-shirts. We need to write the function for it, so automatically f of x equals squiggly. All right, what you can't see, because they didn't draw it very well, is the start point for our first step up here. So it's showing you the number of shirts and how much it costs per shirt. And you see that little break there? All right, so that's kind of like there's a closed circle here, but I don't think they knew how to draw it because are you going to spend $20 if you don't buy any shirts? No, you're not. So I'm going to put that little dot in there saying, you know what? First number of shirts that you can buy is 1 shirt for $20. So I'm going to start right there. So the y value of our first step is 20. Start and stop, we just said we're going to start with 1 t-shirt. And we're going to stop at 20 t-shirts. And since the 1 and the 20 are both closed circles, we're going to put the equal signs on it. All right, our second step. Y value is 15. We're starting at an x value of 20. And we're stopping with an x value of 40. Only the 40 is closed, so I'll put an equal sign with the 40. Our next step is a y value of 10. Start, stop. So we're starting with an x value of 40 and stopping with an x value of 80. And 80 is closed, so we put the equal sign. And our last step has a y value of 5 and a starting point of 80 a stopping point of actually infinity. That's one way you could write it. And because it's an arrow problem, all right, it's just going in one direction. So you could look at that and say x is going to be greater than 80 because it's only going one direction forever. So either way you write it is perfectly fine. No equal sign with 80 because it's not a closed-in circle. So what does this graph really mean? Well, if you order 1 through 20 shirts, each shirt's going to cost you 20 bucks. So if you ordered 10 shirts, 10 times 20 is $200. But then if you decide to order a lot of shirts, so if you order more than 20 shirts, up through 40, they'll knock the price down to 15 each. So if you order like 30 t-shirts, they'll only cost you $15 each, and it'll be $450. But if you go over 40 shirts, anywhere between 40 and 80, they'll knock the price down again to $10 a shirt. So if you bought 50 shirts, they'd only be $10 each, and you'd spend $500. So you only spend $50 more, and you get 20 more shirts. Not a bad deal. And then if you go over 80 shirts, they'll knock it down to $5 a piece. But no matter how many shirts you order above 80, the cost will still be $5. They won't knock it down anymore. That's how you read that graph. All right, homework is asking you to practice some step functions. Good luck.